Yes, I was right.
About what?
Dumbledore
Yeah.
and the wand.
Yeah,
Right? I did say that.
I think so. Yeah.
What did you say?
Dumbledore and the wand. How Gregorovich?
Yeah.
I got the right G.
Well, Gregorovich had it first, and then
now Sam
Grindelwald.
messed up. Yeah, but Grindelwald, didn't he give it to... Harry said something quickly
Yeah.
in the last chapter and was like, Dumbledore's had it this whole time.
And then Voldemort goes to get it.
But maybe it's really not it. Anyways.
That's what I hope.
Okay, fine. Whatever. But I'm just saying, I like my theory.
One of my questions was, because this
ready.
chapter you get a lot of information. One of my questions was, Danny, do you believe anything
Anything that
we have heard in this chapter?
It's all fallible, Word of
That's
mouth.
why he looked like that to me in the car on the drive here. I was like, I was right. And he's like, about what? And then I was like, well, it was obvious, so I guess you don't believe it.
yeah. I literally did not at all. No, I shouldn't say at all. 25% chance. That's really it.
All right.
Maybe even 50, but no higher.
Wow, that's crazy.
So that's good or bad?
Well, I just think it's tough because we just don't know. And how would Voldemort even know if it's the real thing? And
The real wand. We're talking about the wand?
The wand,
Yeah.
like it just feels like it would be pretty special to have Dumbledore's wand anyway, because it's done so much. But if a wand is choosing a more powerful wizard, Ollivander just told us that it's like it kind of gravitates towards the one who defeated it, or kind of like something along those lines. A wand could not look kindly on someone breaking open a grave and stealing it. That's not power. That's weakness. And so I'm just like, even if it is the wand, it just doesn't quite make sense. I'm just confused about it because...
So would you say, like, even if it is the wand, its allegiance wouldn't be to... It would still be to Dumbledore? It wouldn't be to...
I guess, like, well, we just don't know what happens when you die.
I like how what Hermione said, though. She's like, you would never be able to break into that. And that was just terrible. So along the lines of kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Would it want to be with that owner?
It would not respect
You don't
Voldemort.
have to kill people, it seemed like, to get a wand to like you.
You just have to defeat the wand.
To want to be a part of.
Yeah.
What the heck is the relationship between a wand and a wizard? What do you call that?
I don't know. It's a great... We should come up with a term. That's a great question.
Yeah. The wand bond.
Wand bond. I like that. The wand bond. What about the wand bond between...
But yeah, I'm trying to think of all the possibilities, and it just feels like this is not the way to get the Elder Wand. Okay. So if it is, it is not loyal to Voldemort. And if it isn't, where is it?
Okay, so that's the question. Do you think it is the Elder Wand? If it's not, where is it?
It feels weird that he's been
really
using...
asking Danny.
That's why you're asking Danny? Is that what you said?
Because you're convinced that it is, right?
You really think it is. And it could be.
I don't know. I just want to be right. So yeah.
Are there no pictures of the Elder Wand? Like, nobody knew, and he's been using it all this time. And then, like, what happens to his other wand? It feels like a betrayal of the wand that chose you to begin with. You know what I mean?
But then does that mean that Dumbledore was using the Elder Wand this whole time?
That's what I thought. Yeah, like
I thought this was a bonus.
Like a wand that he just had it in storage or something. Well, that's not right. If you leave a wand in storage, I feel like it would betray you.
I don't know. All right, whatever.
Like, imagine that you're like one of the greatest wizards alive, if not the greatest, and then you just keep a wand in a cupboard and you use some other wand. Like, that's like... Why
not? But I feel like Dumbledore would do that because it's like the death, like the story behind the wand.
If you have the Elder Wand, the Death Stick, it's like your other wand is going to pale in comparison. But is that why Dumbledore is considered the greatest wizard of all time? Because he
had the wand.
Like, was he greater before that? Like, he defeated Grindelwald, which is impressive. But what went on in that relationship?
Well, in my mind, that's when he got the wand. Unless it was Polyjuice and he was the one stealing the wand to begin with. Could be. Which would be very clever. Oh, actually... We even think that's more likely because we a little bit trust Grindelwald.
Wait, who's we?
Yeah, like, we all do, right, guys? How about this, Jen? Do you think it was Grindelwald or do you think it was Dumbledore who stole the wand from Gregorovich? In other words, do you believe Grindelwald when he told
I don't know.
Voldemort
I go
that
back
he
and
never
forth,
had it.
50-50. Because I was like, it could be the Polyjuice where we were talking about Dumbledore looked like him.
Yeah,
so
that
that
was
way
something
in the
you had
future, which I kind of like.
Yeah, me too.
And then that way he could actually say, no, I never had it, right?
Right.
I get them mixed
Grindelwald.
up. Okay.
Yeah.
Every time. But yeah, no, I think. But then when they were like the duel and he like surrendered to Dumbledore, Grindelwald.
Is that what you think it was? A surrender?
I think it was just a fake thing to
It was
like
all
get
fake?
people to talk and to seem like
Yeah,
the
maybe.
power shift or something. I don't know.
The fake thing, I liked it until we saw Grindelwald and he was like nearly dead in the top of this tower. Seems like he's been locked up forever.
But I think that was a plan.
A plan to just sit in a tower and be locked up for your whole life. I was just like, ugh, it kills me. Like, what? I guess
Greater good, Danny.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm thinking for what though? Like, there's got to be a better part of this plan. Like when they came up with this plan, they're like, this is what you're going to do. And then you're just going to rot away in a tower. And then maybe one day Voldemort's going to come and ask you about this. And you get
He
to
said,
like,
I've been waiting. Didn't
you get to have, I've been waiting. Yeah, you're right. So let's say he was, then he gets to have his moment of, haha, got you. But like even that just feels weird. And then it ultimately just led Voldemort to Dumbledore anyway. So what was the point of all that if like in the end he figures out where it is?
I don't know.
Let's save this for the discussion and because when they talk to Ollivander, there's a lot of interesting stuff. But welcome to the podcast. I'm John.
Jen.
Danny.
And Kristen.
And this is Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. Hey, go follow us on all the stuff that you should follow us on. That's pretty much all I got to say. Go mainly subscribe to us on YouTube and become a member. We are doing Newt level book clubs, which is like in-depth book clubs. We're halfway through book 1. If you want to join those, jump on YouTube, become a member. You can see all of them. They're all there. They're really fun. They're great. So go subscribe to us on YouTube and become a member or join us on Patreon, whatever you can. Support this podcast in any way you can. That's all I got. Enjoy this podcast. It's a great, great podcast. Lots of good predictions. Enjoy chapters 24 and 25 of Deathly Hallows. You have a
Mine's going wild with possibilities.
A concerned look on your face.
Well, whatever. I'm just trying to think. You could keep going.
No, get your thoughts out now so you don't forget them.
No, I'm just processing what you said. If he had the wand, if Dumbledore had the Elder Wand.
It must have been the one he was just using though this whole time, right?
The Elder Wand was
That
the one
is
that he was
not
using
what
all
I
the time,
thought,
right?
though.
I
That's
just don't
not
like the
how-
idea of having multiple wands. That doesn't feel...
Why? Other people have it, don't they? I don't. Maybe not.
This is not a fair comparison, but I'm just thinking of like wives. We're making a wand comparison.
Oh
Yeah,
my
some people
gosh.
have multiple wives, but I don't like it. You know what I mean? And so it's
Wait,
like
what did you just compare
You
to?
just compared wives to wands.
wives to
Oh
wands.
my
Yep.
gosh.
And just because we're talking about the relationship and how the feelings and the emotions and the whatever, so it almost feels like a lot of
they would
things
be
can be
nothing
done, but that
without
doesn't
us,
make
exactly.
them the right way to
There
do
you
it. So I'm like, well, yeah.
You're a wand carrier.
You're my wand.
Yeah, well, you would have no powers without me, so.
Ooh, respect. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It just feels like I don't like the idea of Dumbledore having multiple wands. So I feel like this is the one, if it was the Elder Wand, it would, in my mind, have to be the one he's always used. And then I'm just thinking, what if the wand Harry
But I
has
thought people would
used to
have
be
known.
Dumbledore's wand?
He said that people know what it looks like.
Did he? Who said that?
Ollivander. He said that people are trained to know what it looks like and the feel of it, and it has a stamp on it of authentication. So if this rumors would be going around because he's a very public figure, Dumbledore, and if he's using a wand that like everyone's like, oh, he has the Elder Wand. So your theory's wrong.
Nice.
Wait.
Please get that on.
He has a
clip and put
stamp?
it on Instagram.
Yeah, the stamp threw me off. I'd have to go read it again.
I mean, I did listen to it. I thought it said it has a stamp it had a circle stamp of authentication on it. Maybe I'm wrong.
The wand?
Yeah. Okay, obviously with your face, I'm wrong.
Honestly,
but like,
I don't remember what the chapter said, but I feel like you're right. He said something along the lines of people who are trained to know what to look for or something. But maybe we'll have to read it again when we get to it. But I viewed it more of knowing the signs of like the wizard rather than the wand itself. More like you see things and think, oh, like this wizard is winning more than he should be winning, almost like other kinds of signs or something, or whispers of rumors and myths.
I'm gonna find what it says. Maybe I heard it wrong because I wasn't reading it. But yeah,
I'll do the same. But either way, I think just the idea of wondering if Dumbledore had 2 wands and what happened to his old wand, and if it really was his wand, and if so, does Voldemort have the wand right now? And if he does, is it loyal to him? I don't think so. So lots of questions, but I kind of don't think this is the real deal.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
It's just, but then I'm curious where it is, and there are still a lot of open ends.
We'll go down both roads in a little bit, but one of the first things that happens in this chapter, actually, what's a quick summary of this chapter?
This is the chapter, The Wand Maker. So that's Ollivander, because Harry talks to Ollivander and Griphook. But before he does that, he buries Dobby. He does it the old-fashioned way, the Muggle way, because he felt like it was right. So he's hand-digging this grave, and then Ron and Hermione came out to dig with him, and it's kind of somber, and they say a few words. Luna does. So it was a sad chapter, but then they're starting to like make a plan a little bit. Yeah. So kind of building tension.
Right here. They have, well, maybe I'm reading into this. They have a ring of authenticity. A ring? But does that mean it's a ring of people? I thought it was a ring on the wand. So I read that as like a...
The layers. Wait, what the...
On page 497.
What if it was Dumbledore's ring that he was wearing?
Of power.
It wasn't a Horcrux. It wasn't
it's on 497.
A ring of anything else. It
Just
was a ring of authenticity, and he used to test the wand to confirm that it was the other one.
So in my mind, I was listening. I don't know why. I'm thinking of a red ring around the bottom of it as like a
big old thing.
stamp.
And honestly, it could be. It honestly could.
The Elder Wand.
Like, imagine that. You just do a certain spell, and it reveals that it is the wand. Also, could you disguise a wand? Could you do like a transfiguration charm on a wand to make it look like another wand to hide it? Or are wands immune to that kind of thing?
Wow. Were you done with your summary? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was. This is like, both of these chapters, 24 and 25, were low action chapters, but some learning as they're getting their plan. So,
what do you guys think? Just moving to 2 prior questions before we get to some wand lore. What did you guys think about Harry digging the grave for him? Because that was a tough line that you get almost in the beginning of this. He says, "I want to do it properly," were the first words which Harry was fully conscious of speaking. "Not by magic. Have you got a spade?" And shortly afterward, he set to work alone, digging the grave in the place that Bill had shown him at the end of the garden, between the bushes. He dug with a kind of fury, relishing the manual work, glorying in the non-magic of it. For every drop of his sweat and every blister felt like a gift to the elf who had saved their lives. That's so sad.
That was sweet.
Yeah. What do you think about him not using magic?
I think that was nice, like tribute to Dobby, because it takes effort.
It takes effort. Ooh, yeah, nice way to say it. But it's weird that he said properly. Like the Muggle way is the proper way. I love that acknowledgement a little, you know?
Just remember his upbringing was in the Muggle world. So he's probably thinking that's the proper way in his world, in his upbringing. You know,
yeah, you're right.
He might have thought differently if he was actually raised
as a wizard. Right. Yeah, no, you're right.
That's a great point. That was fascinating to me too, because like in my mind, I'm like, that feels right. Like I don't know why, but I know they dig graves with like, you know, huge excavators now, but it almost feels wrong to do that.
Yeah, you're right. You're
like,
so
I'm
right.
Like, you know, you got to put your like blood and sweat into it.
Yeah.
For like someone who's a witch or a wizard, maybe it's like even when they put the dirt on the grave, Bill just like swept and all the dirt just fell back on. And I was like, maybe for wizards, that's the proper way to do things.
Because it's so clean and pure and like thorough, and there's no mess left afterwards. So I get that too. But I did like, it's my Muggle ways. I liked that Harry said that was the proper way to do it. And I like what you're saying, the effort. I feel like there is something to be said for that. And it kind of shows that Harry still views some of the magic as being a shortcut. and not necessarily a good one either. Taking the easy way to do something, and some things are worth taking more effort to learn the hard way.
Yeah. Even with this, there's another line that says Dobby would never be able to tell them who had sent him to the cellar, but Harry knew what he had seen. A piercing blue eye had looked out of the mirror fragment and then had come to help. Help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. What is the deal with the mirror? So again, is Dumbledore alive?
I sometimes want to say yes. Depends on the day.
I wish I could. I just don't believe it. I'd be annoyed if he was alive. He can be alive in spirit, and that's about as much as I could accept at this moment.
So who's in the mirror?
Maybe him. I don't know. So who?
I just find it weird that it's Sirius Black's mirror.
Sirius gave it to Harry.
So I'm like, why wouldn't it be Sirius?
And I used to always say that I thought it was twin mirrors. Like I thought there'd be two. I thought it was a way of communicating. Right? Okay. So where's the other one?
Yeah, it's a great question.
With Dumbledore hiding.
And then
in a cave somewhere with Dumbledore.
I'm glad that was not just in my head and that was actually like a fact.
No,
but then,
it's been a fact for a while.
All right, good. But I like clarifying. And so if the mirror was on Sirius when he went through the veil, then would it be on the other side of the veil? Can it be used to communicate?
It wasn't on him at the time, I don't think.
So then,
but
I thought
he
found it later on.
Huh?
They found it later on in the house.
Yeah, they found it later on in the house. Yeah.
Who did?
I don't know, but the crew.
The crew did. Well, it just feels so
someone
weird.
in the books found it.
How could it be like?
That is fascinating. If you carried it over, if there was like a national.
I do keep thinking of the veil as like something because it was such a big moment.
Yeah,
and also because Harry kept hearing voices.
Yeah,
and because we know that in the story, like a veil was kind of almost mentioned. Like death had a veil. There was there was something to that.
The veil was torn.
I don't. Yeah, nice. I feel like there was like a certain something about it where you're like, what is going on? This veil, is this like? I had images of the invisibility cloak being cut, where part of it is the invisibility cloak, part of it is actually the veil over this little archway. But I just can't picture how this mirror ends up somewhere where Dumbledore has it. And we just went to Dumbledore's grave and he was there, right? So it just feels weird. Like how
he's at Hogwarts, right? Is what.
Yeah, like it sounds like it was down by the lake at Hogwarts.
I missed that, so that's why I wanted to confirm.
And this was kind of a weird chapter where Hogwarts gets more crazy. You're like, Voldemort is just showing up to Hogwarts, blowing graves apart.
But Harry was
Ginny's
able
getting
to...
captured by Death Eaters on the train to school. And
no,
Luna, like,
that was Luna.
Oh, Luna, sorry, yeah. And I'm like, that's just normal.
I know, me too.
I've never read that before.
That sounds intense.
It's a whole
Not
new
the
story.
hot tamale.
Yeah, I know.
So it just feels like then all of a sudden Hogwarts, I'm like, it feels like a sham. I'm like, they're not even learning. It's just like chaos over there.
But I thought that if you
students.
ask for help, you will receive it from Hogwarts or something. So that's why I find it interesting.
Dumbledore said that at Hogwarts. So does that mean that's where the other mirror is? At Hogwarts? Because Harry asked to the mirror, kind of. And then,
so, I mean, the question is, where is the mirror? But, I mean, the location is important, but who do you think has the mirror? So Dumbledore is an option. Who are other options? Who you
Snape.
Snape? I don't know if he has blue eyes, but
I feel like Dobby was a fair option.
I know. That's what I thought. Dobby had blue eyes, right?
Would you be able to differentiate Dobby's eyes and Dumbledore's eyes?
It couldn't be Dobby's eyes, but could the
Polyjuice?
Yeah, exactly.
We viewed the mirrors as communicating to each other, but what if it wasn't that?
I also said it was Harry's parents, right? Mm-hmm. But it would have to be green.
Most of your theories are dead people.
yeah. Honestly, that's the weird part.
Most of my theories are dead people.
But who else do we know that has blue eyes?
The only thing that I find weird is like the wand thing where everyone came out and was talking to Harry and like protecting Harry when he was fighting Voldemort in like book 3 or whatever. Right. And so it feels like dead people can come and have a presence and help. So that's what I'm trying to follow throughout the series.
Yeah. And that's what it feels like with Dumbledore a little bit. Like, and Horcruxes kind of are the same idea. Like you can leave a part of yourself behind, and Horcruxes, it's like murder, broken heart, bad. But like, what if there's a good thing of that? You're like, you can like leave a part of yourself for someone, you know, like something. And just the idea of ghosts in general, like that feels unhealthy with something unresolved on Earth. So you're not actually ready to pass on. But what if there's like a healthy way to do that?
I'm not talking about ghosts.
No, I'm not necessarily either, but I'm just saying the idea of like, even when your body dies, a part of you remains, and we're trying to figure out what that looks like. And Voldemort is doing the most unhealthy extreme. Then ghosts seem to be another unhealthy extreme. Then whatever was in Voldemort's wand that were helping him in the graveyard when Harry was like fighting him, that also feels like another something. So could Dumbledore have found a way of doing that, again, in a different way, with the mirror, leaving a part of him there? Do mirrors connect to paintings at all? Can you like there's got to be something more to this, obviously, that we just don't understand. Because I want it to be Dumbledore, and I can't think of who else it would be. Did Moody have blue eyes?
No, I think you asked that before, right?
Because for whatever reason, I kind of thought he maybe
has one
did.
Not real eye.
Yeah, he has one not real eye. So if he was looking with this real eye, it'd be hard. If he was looking at this fake eye, you're like, oh, that's Moody. He's looking
there
after
it is.
So would you say Moody is still alive if that's the case?
You know what? I kind of think he is now. Only because we didn't get a good
blue eyes.
I thought it was a bit of a long shot to say it like that. Like, because I don't see how this could have been him anyway, or why he wouldn't be jumping in to help them with other things. But I feel like there is a genuine possibility he's still alive, but I don't know where he'd be and what he'd be doing, and it might not be true at all. I want
when they reset one. So we go back to that phrase where he's like, "If you ask, Hogwarts will help you," or whatever.
Help will be given to those who ask at Hogwarts.
Okay, yeah,
maybe. Yeah, pretty much.
But the part that gets me is
Dobby is not of Hogwarts. He's a free elf, so that's.
But he does
weird.
work there.
Does he work there?
Yeah, I think right. Like,
well, that's what I was trying to. Is that? Okay, so then he is from Hogwarts.
Well, it makes me think then that that's
I guess
where
you're right, yeah.
the other part of this mirror is at Hogwarts. Whether I don't know, and so it's a little bit strange, but I feel like maybe there was also something in these chapters. When we get there, I'll see, where I thought the where your treasure is, there your heart will be was pointing to Hogwarts, because something about treasure and learning or something. And so I just thought there were a couple things in these chapters pointing to Hogwarts. And then Voldemort going there at the end, I was like, oh man. So again, it just makes me think the mirror could definitely be there.
But what the heck, Dumbledore? Like, you left no clues.
Okay, great point. Let's transition to talking about Dumbledore, because that's a tough one. There's two lines. I love Harry's conviction in this chapter. When they're like going to take the two people away, and Harry goes, no. And Bill looks startled. I need both of them here. I need to talk to them. It's important. He heard the authority in his own voice, the conviction, the sense of purpose that had come to him as he dug Dobby's grave. All their faces were turned toward him, looking puzzled. And then he has this line where he says, you gave Ron the Deluminator. You understood him. You gave him a way back. You understood Wormtail, too. You knew there was a bit of regret there, somewhere. And if you knew them, what did you know about me, Dumbledore? Am I meant to know, but not to seek? Did you know how hard I'd find that? Is that why you made it so difficult, so I'd have time to work that out? Is Dumbledore right here? And why is Dumbledore, why did he not give them a lot of information? Is it just because Harry didn't ask for it?
No, I don't think so. I think Dumbledore knew Harry didn't know enough to ask. He never could have asked about Deathly Hallows or even Horcruxes. Dumbledore had to bring him there to like really get him to go there. I think it was for a reason though. And this chapter, maybe just because I identify with Harry, I'm starting to trust Dumbledore again, as Harry does, and say, yeah, you know, it does feel like he had a plan. And again, just reinforcing that thing of like, he needed to be betrayed by Snape. It's like the idea of like, that betrayal was all part. Was that directly in the mic? Nice.
I'm sorry, everybody.
Well, that's going to be your mic for now on.
I did go into my.
Oh, okay, nice.
It wasn't like fully directed. I was just thinking noise wise.
Yeah, full
sorry,
blast
everybody
for
got
someone.
Full on sneeze on that one. Keep going.
So it just makes me trust Dumbledore a little more as Harry does, but it's still, we don't know enough to know. So then we're like, we're left wondering, what was the plan? And what is Harry supposed to do? He still doesn't actually know. Horcruxes or Hallows, the question you asked us. Harry asks himself in these chapters.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's a question. Does he know? He seems like he has conviction in this chapter, and then he takes it back. Like, this is a really cool chapter because you see his leadership. He's like, we're going after the Horcruxes. And then the next chapter, he's like, did I make a mistake?
It's so strange. And even not telling Bill and Fleur, he somehow was able to just do that and say like, oh.
What does he have?
A leaf.
A leaf. It's all right.
Nice,
I
Wes.
just want to make sure it's not poisonous.
So I was just curious why he was so convicted about that thing Dumbledore said. This mission is for you guys. Mm-hmm. And even that, like, well, Dumbledore did say don't tell anyone, right? Specifically.
Yeah, just like the three of them are supposed to know.
So there is a deep trust where Harry's saying, Dumbledore said this, we're going to do it. But Dumbledore also said, look for the Horcruxes, right? Like, kind of directly.
But also, why isn't he trying to figure out the snitch thing, too?
Yeah, it does feel like he kind of gave up.
He kind of like put that on the back burner, but like, what if there is something in there? That maybe it's the ring, but maybe it's more information. I don't know. Maybe it's the Elder Wand.
It's a little roll of parchment that he wrote, and all the information is given.
Whole thing on there.
Really small handwriting.
It does feel really weird. But you know,
I really hope that I get answers to all this at the end.
We will.
We better.
Oh, we will.
Jen's like, I did not go 2 years for this for no answers.
Because this Dumbledore not telling me stuff, I would be so annoyed. Like, I'd just give up, maybe.
Well, I think it's strange that Dumbledore gave them enough for clues, but not everything.
But they're not even real clues.
Well, that's what's so weird. So, like, at what point do you just trust him and say,
was trying
whatever
to,
is going to happen is going to happen, or do you keep pursuing these clues? They needed to pursue some of these clues, or they wouldn't even know what's going on. And it feels like, did Dumbledore want them to know about the Hallows?
He should have just said, I feel like he should have went along with it, though. Like, hey, like when he was it makes me so angry.
What?
The pensive, right? He's showing him all of these like history of Voldemort when he was a child and to find these Horcruxes. And in that meantime, he could have been saying there is also a juxtaposed.
Nice word.
You said that, or like
you're like, oh, I just used a big old vocab.
No, because
you're like, wait, did I use it right?
I was trying to think of what the Deathly Hallows would be. And go along with sharing. I'm not at loss.
Sorry, I threw you off. I shouldn't have said anything.
No, I was just trying to think of what the theory of the Deathly Hallows.
So you're saying how they're kind of like.
I wish he would have just said more about it and be like, oh, you might hear about this thing and it's not real. Or you might hear about this thing in the future. It is real. I actually think you have the cloak. And if you ever find these two and part of the mission, pick them up because they would be useful. Or don't touch them because they're not like something.
Yeah. How does this change the conversation knowing that Dumbledore was possibly in possession of one of the Hallows?
Or all three of them?
Literally could be all three.
Yep.
He's got the wand, Harry's got the cloak, and he had potentially the ring or the stone if it was.
But then that means if he had all three, could he actually be alive? Dumbledore.
But how though?
I'm just saying it's to beat
Xenophilius
death,
said
right?
It makes one master of death.
Master of. Does that mean you can't die? But then, well, I guess the weird part is what makes that different than just the Philosopher's Stone?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it was the Philosopher's.
Maybe it was, but then like what makes having all three
maybe the ring
than
was
just having the one stone or the ring? Yeah.
So maybe he had the ring on, he had the wand, and then the cape was right next to him with Harry.
Right. So he could have had all three, and if he had the
when he
Elder
was
Wand,
dying,
he could have had all three, literally when he was dying, or any point during Harry's schooling. But unless it was the Philosopher's Stone,
but then Voldemort can't know about it, so that's probably why he didn't tell him, because he would have been able to see in Harry's mind,
and that was
all
too
this
important.
stuff, and Voldemort wouldn't know about this whole theories or whatever you want to call them because he didn't grow up in the Wizarding world, which was the whole point that they said you learn these stories growing up as a wizard, but if you're Muggle born or whatever, you're not going to hear about them. Okay. So he probably was clueless about this, and maybe he's piecing it together, or maybe he thinks only the wand exists.
I guess the weird part to me is why Dumbledore would be so careful not to share it with Harry.
Because he could get...
Well, what I'm saying is, it sounds like Dumbledore already had all of them. So what's the fear? Like, what's Voldemort going to do? If he had them all.
But he was training Harry to be like a better wizard.
I guess.
I don't know.
It feels close, like, to something.
But that's also how he acted, though. Dumbledore.
Yeah.
He was literally on like missions to like figure out the history of Voldemort instead of caring about like training people and having a game plan and whatever. So it does feel like he was like, okay, I'm good, and I have all three.
Yeah. He had the confidence of like being in control most of the time. But we did see moments of like not as much control. But yeah, it is just strange.
Well, I guess
still.
when he was trying to kill the Horcrux, that was weird.
Yeah, and even just the fact that the Horcruxes scared him. If he had the Elder Wand, which can't be defeated, it just feels strange that he couldn't just go fight Voldemort head on. And it was, again, there might be more prophecies we don't know about. There might be other weird things to that. But I don't know. Something about it feels strange. And I can't figure out what. And like I had also said in, what's it called? Nurmengard. Grindelwald being there. Was anyone else there? No, that's the jail where Grindelwald was kept.
Oh, yeah.
And he's in the topmost cell. Well, then if that's the topmost cell, what are all the other cells? And who's in there? And why? And so is this just like Azkaban?
I don't even
not
care.
Run by the Ministry.
Nuremberg is the prison that he made himself for his enemies.
Yeah. And so did he put people away before he got captured? And then all those people got set free, maybe? We still don't know if we're supposed to really trust Grindelwald, but we kind of are thinking, yeah, he's boys with Dumbledore or whatever. I don't know.
Okay, even another question on wand lore that's a little different than this one is Harry the rightful owner of Draco's wand now? So this is going to talk about the transition of wand powership.
He said it felt nice in his hand.
Yeah.
He did.
Draco's wand felt nice.
Oh boy.
That's what he said.
No, he did say that in different words.
Sorry, that was my fault. That's
oh my gosh.
No, that was Jen's fault. I feel like she kind of knew as she was there. You didn't.
I don't know. They just come out.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense to me, and again, it reinforces, like Ollivander kind of explained too, that if you win a wand in battle, there's a loyalty there that you're not going to get if you do wandmazon.com. Yeah. It's like it's different. It's a different loyalty when you earn it.
Are you gonna make wands on the side and sell them?
Well, we're still
on the wand.
Yeah, we're still trying to crack the code to how a wand can choose the wizard.
Yeah.
And once we crack that code, then
I don't know.
I think
You
we'll
seem
be ready.
like you're getting there.
Yeah, we'll see. We can make wands, and then we could give them to our hot tamales.
Oh, but technically wives are wands, so like, what does that look like?
He's never gonna live that down
now. So
how does wand? So is there a better change of ownership when someone defeats another person? Is there even a stronger change of ownership when someone kills another person? Does the wand just completely change allegiance to them?
I feel like he didn't clarify that exactly, right?
Yeah, but
he didn't know.
Yeah, it feels too vague. Like it's one of those things where it kind of depends on the wand.
Well, because he kept saying, "Will it work for me?" He's like, "I think it will." Right? Like every time they're like, they have all these wands to use.
Yep.
And he's like, "I think it'll be okay."
Because he said he's talked about how Bellatrix's wand is unyielding, and then he said this wand was the wand.
Oh yeah, every wand. Didn't he say all of them were?
Yeah.
Like past
Ollivander
tense.
could tell. Oh no, was because he maybe sold it to Draco.
No. I took it as the whole conversation was like, this was Bellatrix's because now it's whoever possesses it. This was Draco's because now it's whoever possesses it. Okay. Like it can turn into your wand. That's
a great point.
Is that how?
Yeah, I thought he sold them all their wands, and that's the only reason he knew.
No,
you're saying he could feel it in the wand. He's like, this.
Well, I think it's a little both. I think
no. Well,
Ollivander intrigues me a little bit because I feel like he has such a perfect, Like he's tracking wands so much so he can figure out like where the other wand is. So like he knows every wand that he sold, like memorize it. Like I would like almost equate it to like a chess grandmaster memorizing games of how to play.
Yeah, right.
He's memorized every wand that he's ever sold. But on top of that, Jenn's theory I think is a little closer because it seems like in this moment he like holds the wand up, he recognizes who it's by, but then he seems like he's talking about ownership here, where he's this belonged to Bellatrix, but then it belonged to her, but he says now it's unyielding, don't use this wand. And then he says this was the wand of Draco Malfoy. Here he goes, was? And he goes, its allegiances might have changed.
Wow. Okay. I forgot it was so specific.
Yeah. But it's interesting how Harry could feel it too, right? Like he like picked up both of them, and he was like, "Oh, this feels more comfortable for me to use."
Better than the other.
Bellatrix is unyielding. Well,
and then the one that he made for Wormtail, I thought that was so interesting. Where he's like, "I just made it so it has like no allegiance to anyone." In a way, so definitely use that one because it will work best for you.
Right.
So that was interesting. Like because it's like a newborn, like
ready to be adopted. You know,
it's ready for its master.
It's a dog in the adoption. Adoption.
Yeah, that is very interesting.
Because Wormtail didn't have a wand because he left it behind. Like that, I thought was also
who took Wormtail's wand? I don't remember how that all went.
I just don't think he had it after he transfigured. He probably never. He
just never got one.
And he never got one.
I thought like when he left, right? Like he left his wand in his finger or something.
Yeah, he probably. Yeah, probably to make it convincing. He probably had to. Yeah, that's a great point.
That's how I.
Yeah, could be.
So I just thought that was interesting. Like, oh, he finally got a wand after how long being with Voldemort? Like,
wandless with Voldemort. Yeah,
he wouldn't let him have a wand.
That is, kind of sad.
So this is the other line that we have where Ollivander is talking to him about the change of ownership. It says, yes, if you want it, it's more likely to do your bidding and do it well than another wand. And this holds true for all wands, does it? Asked Harry. I think so, replied Ollivander, his protuberant eyes upon Harry's face. You ask deep questions, Mr. Potter. Wand lore is a complex and mysterious branch of magic. So it isn't necessary to kill the previous owner to take true possession of the wand? Asked Harry. Ollivander swallowed. Necessary? No, I should not say it's necessary to kill. Do you think that's true? So we're talking about the Elder Wand here.
He said it like funny though.
Yeah.
Or at least in the audiobook, I feel like the tone was interesting. Maybe I read into it more because of hearing it. But I feel like he was trying to hold back, saying like, I felt as though like if you killed someone, like maybe it is a more powerful connection, but he's not going to tell them that because why would you tell someone you should kill someone to get their wand?
Yeah, that seems extreme.
Or maybe he just never experienced that. But honestly, he was watching Voldemort kill people to get their wand, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm confusing.
It's interesting too because we've seen wand ownership in previous books, and there's other wands that we've seen that have passed down. Like Ron had a wand in the first 2 books that wasn't really one that chose him.
A hand-me-down.
Yeah, it was a hand-me-down. But how it come if it's a hand-me-down, it doesn't really work for him? Does a wand know like when it's willingly given? It's like, nah, I don't really want this. The same thing. I think that a fascinating case study is Neville, because he had his father's wand. Why didn't his father's wand choose him? Like, why didn't his father's wand say like, okay, yeah,
right, right.
Let's get some revenge.
Well, aren't they alive still?
Yeah, they're alive still.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, right.
So they're not dead.
So they're not dead. But Ollivander's saying,
and then it reminded me of the what are they called?
Goblins.
Goblins, thank you. I know it's not Gringotts, but I'm like, who's there? When they were talking about the maker of the item, I don't know why this is a connection. Maybe this makes no sense. I'm just thinking out loud. The goblins make all the crown, the tiara or the crown and the sword, and that they think that they're the owners of all these items, and that whoever is the first one to possess it, and then if they die, it should go back to like their owner. And it just was a parallel, I guess, in a way of like when you're the first owner of the wand, do you have to die and it would go back like a reset kind of
interesting
thing where then it's kind of like similar to the goblin stuff?
Because that's an interesting thing. Why did they bring that up in the goblin chapter? I mean, that's important, but
I don't know, it just made me think that if the first owner dies, maybe it resets it and it allows you to have like to start fresh.
Interesting. So wand's gonna be passed down because that's what they're talking about. Even with the wand, like the person doesn't need to die, but if the person does die, then it's like, okay, blank slate. Anybody can pick me up and use me.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating theory. I like that.
Yeah, Danny, what do you think?
I think it's a pretty
Kristen,
good theory.
what do you think?
Me? I have no thoughts right now. There's too much information. I'll chime in when I have something.
He just always puts me on the spot, so that's why I was just giving it back. And then I was like, I'll include Kristen in this.
I got nothing for you. Sorry.
There is another part where I want to talk about why Harry's wand acted the way it did. It says you told him, this is like a scary part for Ollivander. He says you told him about the twin cores. You said he just had to borrow another wizard's wand. Ollivander looked horrified, transfixed by the amount that Harry knew. He nodded slowly, but it didn't work. Harry went on. Mine still beat the borrowed wand. Do you know why that is? Ollivander shook his head as slowly as he had just nodded. I had never heard of such a thing. Your wand performed something unique that night. The connection of the twin cores is incredibly rare. Yet why your wand should have snapped the borrower's wand, I do not know. Why did Harry's wand act like that? So Ollivander doesn't know, so we're not going to know. Any theories on why Harry's wand acted like that?
But if I'm going with my theory, it's not Voldemort's wand.
Yeah. Yep.
So maybe there's something in that.
So that's a fascinating one too, because Voldemort just takes Malfoy's wand and has no allegiance to him, really.
But he's a powerful wizard, so he can overthrow
for sure.
something? I don't know.
He's a powerful wizard, so any wand that he would use would work probably better for him than, like if I just picked up any wand and used it, obviously. But that one seems weird. He was trying to beat the ideas of the twin cores, so he didn't use his own wand. He tried to use another person's wand, but that wand really had no allegiance to him because he just. I mean, maybe the question is, did it have allegiance to him?
I feel like a little.
No good and evil apart from a person.
That is a great question.
Are they moral? Are they amoral? Or are they moral?
Maybe a little bit.
Is that
moral.
what he would say?
Well, but Ollivander doesn't necessarily think so, but maybe because Ollivander said the wand seeks experience, right? Like something like mutual experience.
But wisdom comes from experience. So can wands gain wisdom?
Interesting.
Wand learning from the wizard,
That's
wizard
cool.
from the wand. And then if there is a moral to the wand, would wands... I'm wondering if the wand of a dark wizard is more likely to be disloyal than the wand of a good wizard. So because Malfoy is so... Like if the wand is learning from the wizard and the wizard from the wand, Malfoy is willing to betray, meaning Lucius, or any Malfoy really. They're willing to betray people, so the wand is also willing to betray. And also, if a wand is going to like lean towards power, we're thinking Expelliarmus. But in Voldemort's case, his power was so extreme, he didn't even need that. He just said, Malfoy, give me your wand. And he yields it up. So in the same way that Malfoy is giving his wand over, maybe the wand is like, oh, this is a powerful wizard. He's like with confidence. Or again, not to compare wands to wives and horses in the same podcast, but if like a horse, you get on a horse that you're familiar with, there's a certain bond. But even a good rider could hop on any horse, and the horse can sense if you're scared or if you're confident. And even if the horse is at first kind of like, like when you're breaking a horse, you have to kind of get on this horse that does not want to yield, and you can train it to yield kind of quickly if you know what you're doing. So I'm curious if the wand would be the same thing. Voldemort is so good that he grabs a wand that doesn't want to yield to him, and he makes it yield very quickly, and it becomes his. Or he can he's good enough that it doesn't matter anyway.
Or could it also be, along what Kristen was saying a little bit, where I wonder if the Malfoys deep down are good, but they are portraying themselves and betraying, but they're not actually evil. They're like on Voldemort's side, but like deep down they want to be good, because it's kind of showing when we went to the house in this past chapter. Bellatrix is evil to the core, so her wand would probably just, how he's like, it's not going to yield to you.
Right.
But I wonder if that has something to do with it too, where like the Malfoys want, like, he could, what am I trying to say? It's like they can mask themselves as being like on the bad side, but like deep down the core is good. So like if he's trying to use it for evil, maybe deep down the core of the wand is like, no, this is like too much. Like I'm willing to go this far, but like you're pushing me, and no.
Has Harry had any interaction with Lucius Malfoy's wand? I was trying to think about that too.
Like in school?
Just in general, because I'm trying to think if in that battle, Voldemort was using Lucius' wand. Did that wand, was it unwilling to defeat Harry because of some history? I just can't think of if there was anything.
Wait, how did they get all these wands anyway?
Well, who's they get all the wands?
So how did
Ron?
Harry, Ron, Hermione, when they were leaving the Malfoys,
there's a small
Hermione's wand got left with someone else's wand, but they grabbed a few. So was it all in Bellatrix's pocket? Like she had everyone's wand? I was like,
it was all in Draco's hand. There was a small throwaway line, and that's weird because we didn't know that Hermione had left her wand there because of her being tortured. But when the chandelier fell and before they were about to apparate, there was like a lot of confusion, and Harry just ran over to Draco and grabbed like 3 wands out of his hand.
Oh.
And those were all the wands that they have right now.
Because I'm like, I don't
grabbed
remember
them
this.
out of his hand. Okay, that's interesting too, because
and then that makes sense to
it's
why
not Expelliarmus.
Yeah,
he still he took it.
He took it by force. He took.
So then
the wand.
that would make sense why the wand would be easier to use for Harry, because he literally just grabbed it out of his hand. But then, nah.
Well, you know what else is funny? It's something about that feels proper, much like the physical way of burying someone feels so proper. Yeah. If you just walk up and grab a wand out of someone's hand, you don't even need magic. You're just doing it the old-fashioned way. I feel like there's something to be said for that. Kind of the way that the Elder Wand had passed from people who had just stolen it. Because that's happened with the Elder Wand, remember? A bunch of times where people would steal it in their sleep or something. It almost feels like that's more... I don't know about more powerful, but in some ways maybe, because how much that's a true defeat. If you take a wand out of someone's hand physically, there's not much more you can do as far as defeating a person. The wand couldn't defend itself at all. The wizard couldn't defend themselves. A conquered wand. Subtle laws govern wand ownership. Conquered wand will usually bend. Yeah, these are some deep questions Harry's asking. I just can't think of what golden thing Harry's wand was doing. That's just next level, and I don't know what fuels that.
Yep.
We've never seen it.
Because that's a really interesting piece of magic, but then even when they're talking about the Elder Wand, and this is kind of when we'll have this little discussion, Ollivander gives this line. It says, Grigorievich had the Elder Wand a long time ago. He said, I saw you-know-who trying to find him. When he tracked him down, he found that Grigorievich didn't have it anymore. It was stolen from him by Grindelwald. How Grindelwald found out that Grigorievich had it, I don't know. But if Grigorievich was stupid enough to spread the rumor, it can't have been that difficult. Voldemort was at the gate of Hogwarts. Harry could see him standing there. And see, too, the lamp bobbing in the pre-dawn, coming closer and closer. And Grindelwald used the Elder Wand to become powerful. At the height of his power, when Dumbledore knew he was the only one who could stop him, he dueled Grindelwald and beat him, and took the Elder Wand. Dumbledore had the Elder Wand, said Ron. But then where is it now? And is that true? Danny doesn't think that's true. Jen thinks that's true. Jen is taking the text at face value. Danny's like, he's lying. Why? What would his motive be for lying here? Or does he just not know?
I think it could be a mixture of not knowing. And I also feel like we don't know that much about him. He could have a wife and kids that Voldemort still has somewhere else. Voldemort could have made other threats to him. And there could be spells that are deeper on this. Like we had, for example, we know that Hermione had everyone in Dumbledore's army sign a contract. If you do certain things, something automatically happens. What if Voldemort forced Ollivander to sign some contract? It's a magical bond.
Well, you like pull these things from like books ago, and you're like, yeah, that's what this is.
No, I'm just saying it's all possible, and that would be something that
possible.
even if Voldemort wasn't around, yeah, I'm glad you closed that door. But even
not
if
really, though.
Voldemort,
You're quoting a
not fully
Cinderella
true.
Sorry.
I'm trying to think of that quote because I love that movie.
I live in my own world. You guys.
It's great. We love it.
Because it just feels like then what if there was a contract that was outside of Ollivander's control or Voldemort's at this point? It's signed in. And if you violate certain things, if you tell certain things, if you like break a certain oath, unbreakable bond. Voldemort could have forced an unbreakable bond, but it brings up the question, can you force an unbreakable bond? Nah, I don't think you could force that. It seems too pure.
It's like his own conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Danny and my thoughts.
Yep. There you go. Ramblin' Dan.
That's gonna be Danny. Yeah, that's gonna be Danny's side podcast. Danny and my thoughts. He's gonna reread Harry Potter. The podcast gonna be Danny and my thoughts.
All these crazy things. But see, it's once we know the answer, everything. There's no more fun for speculation. But while we don't know, all we do know is Harry still doesn't fully trust Ollivander. He didn't, which I think, Jen, you were the one who pointed that out, right?
Wait,
in
what?
the first book, that Harry doesn't fully trust him.
Trust who?
Ollivander. Like
yes,
he left the store with a weird like.
Well, because he brought it up again.
Exactly.
Here. But then I thought he changed his mind. He said I wasn't like something.
Harry was suddenly reminded of how he had been unsure when they first met of how much he liked Ollivander. 497. And so again,
it just didn't finish because I thought he changed his mind.
Even now, having been tortured and imprisoned by Voldemort, the idea of the Dark Wizard in possession of this wand seemed to enthrall him as much as it repulsed him. And that's a weird line. So this paragraph right there.
Oh, like Harry, Ollivander like wants him to have it to see.
I mean, it seems like he's a little torn. He likes seeing all of this. Like he's been reading wizard history in the past tense his whole life. And he knows he's experiencing it now. And there's a part of him that's fascinated by it. That's how it seems to me. So Harry didn't trust his instincts. Harry has good instincts about people most of the time, except Crouch Jr.
Wait, so you think that Ollivander's lying to Harry?
Except a bunch of people.
Snape, maybe Dumbledore.
Well,
what's his face?
It's Wand
Night Bus
Maker,
Driver.
and it's
yeah, Stan Shunpike.
Towards the end. For us, it's like 4 pages to the end, but I don't even know.
Yeah, so I think that's just like strange to me that
Dark
Harry
Lord
was uneasy
seeks the Elder Wand and then
about Ollivander. Still is. So should we trust Ollivander fully, or are we supposed to read that and say there's more here? There's something else. Something could be a little off. He might know more than he's able to say. I don't know.
Ollivander is one of the strangest characters in the books because there's a moment Harry rethinks about the first time he met Ollivander, and he was like unsure about what to feel about Ollivander, and then now he's the same. Ollivander seems like when he talks about how formidable it would be that Voldemort has the Elder Wand, he says that almost with like relish. He's like, he's not really on his side, but he just wants to see wand lore. Yeah, like crazy things happen with cool wands. You know?
The extremes. Yeah.
He'd rather risk like all humanity just to see what his whole life was about.
Yeah, for real.
Wand.
Because it's like an obsession for him. Maybe it's like an unhealthy obsession because he's really like putting other people in harm's way for the fact that he can learn more about wands.
And it feels like he's been genuinely looking for this wand for his whole life. Mm-hmm. He's been tracing it through the course of history. There are gaps, of course, and long ones where it vanishes. But
I thought that was any like wand maker. Like they study this to like know what's going on. So it's not just Ollivander, is how I took that.
But maybe he's got, a dozen brothers and he's the only one who really was passionate about wands. It may be in his blood, but he did this because he loves this. And so for him, the Dark Lord in possession of the Death Stick
but I don't
I
understand
must admit,
why he
formidable.
wouldn't have Okay, but then also, why didn't he understand or be more like intrigued by the double core, like Harry and Voldemort's wand? Like, why didn't he ask him more? Like, oh wait, what happened? And like, let's break that down of how your wand took a mind of its own and beat Voldemort's borrowed wand. Like, he didn't seem to care about that.
I felt like he already had processed all of that because Voldemort had already talked with him about it and said, why'd this happen? He's been captive, you know? So I assume Dumbledore came to him about the twin wand thing originally. He probably did his digging, Priori Incantatem, talked to Dumbledore.
I'm surprised he didn't kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. But
because he killed
like
the other guy so quickly.
Yeah,
you're right.
And the other one's a wand maker. You'd think he'd keep both wand makers alive.
So he could check their stories. But Voldemort seems like the opposite of Dumbledore too, in that Dumbledore has control of his emotions. Voldemort does not. He gets angry. He just like does crazy things. He doesn't think always.
Actually crazy.
Yeah. And so I think it could have been that same thing too. It's not some big planned out thing. He just got mad and killed somebody, which is very normal for him. And somehow he didn't with Ollivander because he thinks there's more purpose here. Something else he can give him maybe.
He was
Is this all Dumbledore's fault?
What do you mean all?
He brought Voldemort to school to learn how to be a wizard.
Yeah, like he got him from the orphanage. And why did he do that? Or was that to save muggles because he could see a certain path? Again, with prophecies, you don't know. So maybe he got a prophecy. If Voldemort
he would never have a wand.
Never have a wand.
He would have never had a wand if he was a muggle.
Could be true.
World.
Could be true.
Anyways, that's just
Dumbledore just go back to the time turner and just, wring
nice.
his neck.
Yeah, just take care of business.
At the orphanage. This is the last line in the chapter, then we'll go on to the next one unless you want to talk about anything else in this. But it says, and here it was beside the lake, reflected in the dark waters, the white marble tomb, an unnecessary blot on the familiar landscape. He felt again that rush of controlled euphoria, that heady sense of purpose and destruction. He raised the old yew wand. How fitting that this would be its last great act. The tomb split open from head to foot. The shrouded figure was as long and thin as it had been in his life. He raised the wand again. The wrappings fell open. The face was translucent, pale, sunken, yet almost perfectly preserved.
Ew.
They had left his spectacles on the crooked nose. He felt amused derision. Dumbledore's hands were folded upon his chest, and there it lay, clutched beneath them, buried with him. Had the old fool imagined that the marble or death would protect the wand? Had he thought that the Dark Lord would be scared to violate his tomb? The spider-like hand swooped and pulled the wand from Dumbledore's grasp, and as he took it, a shower of sparks flew from its tip, sparkling over the corpse of its last owner, ready to serve a new master at last.
It is funny that we kept saying, where's Dumbledore's wand?
Yeah, you guys did have that question all the time.
I kept asking.
Here you go. There's the answer for it.
Very interesting.
It's funny with the sparks. I thought it was like saying no to Voldemort. Like sparking, like dying. Like, oh, you're touching me? Yeah, right. I'm going to shrivel up and not work.
Interesting. So he's not the true owner of it. So go down both of those paths real quick. Is Dumbledore, is his wand the Elder Wand? If it isn't, where is the Elder Wand? If it is Voldemort the true owner of the Elder Wand now? And if he's not, then who is, or did it die with Dumbledore?
I wanted to be the Elder Wand to follow that story, but then why Dumbledore wouldn't do that? That's so like easy to get or obvious. I feel like I don't know.
If it isn't the Elder Wand, I don't know where the Elder Wand went. But if it is the Elder Wand,
but I'm thinking the Elder Wand could be like how they found the sword. Whoever was behind dropping the Gryffindor sword maybe has the wand too.
Could be. You know what's weird though? If that's the Elder Wand, the rightful owner, I was going to say was going to be Snape, but Snape didn't disarm him. Malfoy did. Expelliarmus. Basic spell. Child's play. So if And that's hilarious, actually, because it means that if Voldemort has the Elder Wand, if that is the Elder Wand that was Dumbledore's and, you know, he died with it, then Draco, I think, would technically be the Elder Wand's master.
That's funny.
And you know what else would be cool, though?
Crazy.
Because that would mean
And maybe that's why Draco's wand
it was not loyal to him because he already has a new wand.
Harry could have. Yeah.
And
That's
but that
so
would also be
funny.
fascinating because it means that potentially whatever Dumbledore was saying to Draco to like say come to the side of good, like there's still good in you, like you don't have to do this. It didn't work in that moment, but it still could work in the future. And we could see a redemption from Draco. Because I was just even saying the other day how it wasn't reasonable. This wasn't enough to make up for all the bad things he did because he got Dumbledore killed. But if he gets his hands on the Elder Wand in a little bit and does some good old stuff, then, you know. But also, I feel like Draco would be corrupted so fast if he had the power of the Elder Wand.
Yeah.
I'm not very optimistic about him being able to wield that power for good. I think if he got power, even if he could somehow defeat Voldemort,
like he'd be
he would just
overwhelmed by
become
it.
Voldemort.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I think he would. But then again, we've seen some flicker of good in him when the teacher was being killed on the table at the beginning of the book. He didn't like any of this.
He
He's been
also
cringing
lied
at every
about
bad
if that's
thing.
Harry, if that's Hermione, if that's
Yep.
Ron.
So
So that
that
was
would be
nice.
fascinating. But if Dumbledore didn't have the Elder Wand, he could have given it to anyone, I suppose. But would it be loyal to anyone he gave it to?
No, what if you just hid it somewhere?
Where?
I don't know.
What if it's you know what?
So many options.
I feel like Harry's vault is not a bad option. Because I feel like not just because
What
the next
if-
chapter is called
Wait,
Gringotts.
also though,
I feel like they
with
might
the
be headed there.
goblins,
Wait, Harry's vault or
The
Bellatrix's
goblin-
vault?
Honestly, in theory, either not Bellatrix, it would have to be Harry's. But where your treasure is, there your heart will be. What if it's the most basic form of that? Where your treasure is, Harry, you're loaded. All of your treasure is in your vault at Gringotts. Go to your
Nice.
vault at Gringotts.
Wait, does Dumbledore have a?
Well, Hogwarts does because that's where they went to get the stone at the beginning of book one.
So
Remember
then
with Hagrid?
what if it's in there?
It could be, and that would again make a ton of sense. The wand sitting in the vault.
The
there.
other thing I thought, which doesn't really make sense, but I'm just like thinking out loud right now, is like the goblins were calling them the wand carriers or something.
Oh yeah,
Wand-
yeah. Oh, I was just reading back.
So
through
then
some of
I
that,
was
yeah.
like, is it possible that Dumbledore is trying to get creatures like all together? Could he have given it to a goblin? Could he have given it to a what's the part horse, part
a
man?
centaur.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Centurion.
what if he?
Centurion.
No, I'm not saying it. What if he was willing to like change the history of it and give it to a creature that's not supposed to have it?
That would be kind of crazy. Well,
But you wouldn't find it.
you wouldn't find. Well, but it would be. I'm afraid that the wizards have even more like stuff in place to make sure goblins don't use wands.
I'm just
protective
saying, but
mechanisms,
that's what I found
don't
so
know.
interesting. Like, all right, why don't we all give the goblins wands now, and then we fight
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
not Dumbledore,
Voldemort together.
Voldemort together.
Yeah.
Like, why? I don't understand.
I don't know if their Bill mentions this in the next chapter. Their loyalty is weird. They're not really. They're like loyal to themselves, but
But what if they were given wands? That's what I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like, what if you're given an opportunity to like shine,
Yeah,
and
for
like you
sure.
don't even.
it is cool because what's his face is blown away by Harry in this chapter.
Yeah.
If there was a wizard
What
of
about
whom I would
elves?
believe that
What if
they
he
did
gave
not
it to
seek
an elf?
personal gain, it
Yeah.
would be you, Harry Potter.
What if he gave it to Dobby?
We've just never seen an elf with a wand yet.
All I'm saying is that would be interesting because
That'd be- yeah.
we talk about elves, we talk about goblins and whatever, and they all keep saying that wizards are wand carriers and they're not allowed to have any. But
Well,
what
if
if
he gave
you
it to Dobby, that's
disrupt?
not a good sign.
I'm just saying.
Dobby.
I'm just saying. What
Because
if you
Bellatrix
just?
would be the
What if
rightful
you
owner.
disrupted the normal like society orders and you just
Yeah, and that's a
started,
great goal.
What?
Disrupting it. That's a great goal. And should that be Harry's goal now? Like by the end of
Oh, I
this,
would
return
want
the
to.
tiara, return the sword, like try and set
What
things
if?
in rightful
I
order.
mean, this would never happen because he's obsessed with the sword. But what if the goblin? I can't think of his name.
Grip hook.
What if they're like, how about we give you this extra wand and we'll teach you how to use it
Hmm.
instead of giving you the sword?
That is interesting.
I know it wouldn't work because he's obsessed with it, but I'm just saying, what if he's like, okay, we'll trade you, like, we'll teach you how to use the wands, and then let's see how powerful you are. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just giving options.
No, I love that option. And we have been introduced to tons of magical creatures. So the wizards don't seem to get along well with any of them. They're all outcasts, whether it's centaurs, elves, goblins, giants, werewolves, vampires, although vampires seem a little more accepted. It feels like it would be about time we kind of unify all of the creatures. So that would be
they're
great.
all like running from him, so I just find that so interesting.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's how the final battle of the book goes down. The mermaids can jump in and help. The giants can come along. Well, it's weird that some of these creatures are on Voldemort's side, even though they know Voldemort doesn't like them or respect them. Just
They
because,
just don't wanna die.
Yeah, exactly. They're scared and they have their own purposes. Or the werewolves are like, yeah, we can
I just
eat people
feel like
more.
you're gonna die regardless if you're on his side or not. So like, don't be on his side.
Yeah,
Everyone banned against them. Yeah. We're good. All right. We will talk about some of this in the next chapter, but next chapter is Shell Cottage. Quick summary of this one.
Tonks and Lupin had the baby and named Harry Godfather, and Griphook wants the sword in exchange for his help into Gringotts.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's all I have.
They're like just hatching a plot to get into Gringotts. And this is where we'll have some of the Griphook
What's
conversation.
his called? His name is Ted, the boy.
Ted.
Right? Ted.
Teddy.
Cute.
Yeah, that is cute.
Changing hair.
I know. It's so cute. So Harry again wonders about the eye here. If Dumbledore could possibly be alive, they have a quick conversation about that. But then, what do you think about this idea of sword or like goblin ownership? So, is the sword? I mean, maybe this is a weird side question, but they're having this discussion. Who does the sword belong to? What's the proper lore of the sword?
right.
It was interesting though. I felt like when Bill was talking about how goblins see things, it kind of makes sense in a way.
Yeah,
I
it
was
did
like
make
kind of
sense.
following that. Like, okay, we sold it to that owner, and when they're done with it, it goes back to the maker, and maybe you sell it again, but you don't keep passing it down. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
It did.
And I
It did
could
make
see
sense.
what the goblins were thinking of being stolen. The only thing is, was it stolen from the get-go, or was it bought?
Originally by
From Griffin.
Yeah, Godric Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Oh wait, did we do a chapter summary?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kristen
cool.
just-
I was in my zone. Sorry.
Yeah,
for listening,
Did you have
Danny.
anything else in the previous?
There was a lot in my margins.
Yeah, we're not asking you for more information.
I know. I just was scanning. So you're sassy today.
Oh, yeah. You called me a wand, so yes.
Yeah. No. Actually, I called
Her
wands
sparks are flying
wives.
now.
Yeah. Nice, Kristen. I like
That's
the goblin.
The same thing.
What?
Just keep going.
Oh, okay. I like the goblin way of doing things, and I think wizards should be more in tune with that. Dirk Cresswell, people like Bill, people who work at Gringotts. Well, I think it's even nice that goblins are willing to hire wizards, or maybe part of them likes that. It's like, yeah, you're working for us. I think they should just make this the new normal, and maybe it is the normal now. But the problem is you have all of these old objects. I'm thinking of even when we were in Greece, it kind of reminds me of some of that, because this is the dynamic hanging out now between Greece and England, where England obtained all of these things from the Parthenon in Athens, and they rightfully bought them. Legitimately, they can trace it all the way back to when it was, hundreds of years ago, maybe even thousands. And they're in the British Museum. And Greece is saying, yeah, but we made them. It belongs here. Give them back to us. And for a long time, England said, you don't even have a nice place to keep it, so we're not giving it back. But they just built this big, beautiful place to keep it, a brand new museum. And they have the space where they're going to put these objects when they get them back. They're just waiting for England to give them back, if they ever do. And I think that's the same idea of, if you rightfully buy something according to one culture's thing, is there a place where something belongs? The place it was made. Is there a rightful owner, even if something does get passed down generation to generation? I think it's fascinating when that comes up in the Muggle world, and it does sometimes, especially sentimental things. If some great grandfather makes something, builds it, it gets bought, and then a great grandchild wants to buy it back. They have like a certain, my grandpa made that, I want that. That belongs in my family. Why do you have it? But how do you reconcile?
Like the show I'm watching.
Oh yeah.
The lake or
oh,
lake.
I heard something about a house and yeah. So I feel like that does happen in the Muggle world. But how do you make it right? How do you how do you do that now? It just takes a wizard like Harry who's willing to set an elf free. Like it takes someone like that to then say, I know that I lose in this situation, but I'm willing to sacrifice that for the greater good. And
but
I don't know, it's a step in the right direction.
I also don't understand why they couldn't tell. What the heck? I can't do names. The goblin.
Griphook, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of G's.
Gonna say, there's a lot
Griphook,
of
Grindelwald.
And I'm not reading it, so it's just like hearing it is not helping. Why couldn't they say, we will give you back the sword, but we just need it to finish a task that Dumbledore gave us? Why couldn't they say that as part of their trade-off thing?
Yeah,
point.
Because then you're not lying, because I feel like you don't lie to a goblin.
Yeah,
They seem to have very
don't do that.
hot-tempered.
So that's a great question. How do you think the plan is going to go?
I think he's going to get mad. Because he's like, you promised me, and then they're like being sneaky about it.
And it also felt funny that I'm like, the sword isn't theirs to give. It's funny that they actually feel like it's their right to give it, but like it's not theirs.
But then that might be a good thing. Maybe it'll disappear from Griphook's possession because it just appears wherever.
Yeah, it does seem to be a little,
or it was
crazy.
hidden in the lake forever until Harry found it. I have no idea.
If it just presents itself to Gryffindors who need it, if you give it back to the goblins, does it just pop back to Harry later when he needs it for something else? So I think that's a weird thing too. And goblin magic, can it be suppressed if it goes back to a goblin? I don't know, but it feels like there is a little bit of a disconnect.
I'm like, what is that going to look like? Them going in? I feel like, I don't know.
But they should have been honest. And that does feel like a lot to sacrifice.
Yeah.
A sword that's been around for, what do we say?
Well, I don't even care about
years?
that because at this point it's like, what's the point of possessing a sword when everyone's dying?
But they needed to defeat Horcruxes, so at least
that's
like
what
you're
I'm saying. Like at
honest.
least say like Dumbledore has a task for us, and we need this sword to complete the task. But we will give it back when we're done? It'll be yours, or can we borrow it? It is yours, but we're gonna borrow it until we finish this task. Or
do you think that there could be anything else in the vault other than a Horcrux? Are you guys convinced that it's a Horcrux in this vault?
80%.
I don't know.
You're very convinced?
No. I'm not sure what else is in there. I feel like it's a part of me is like, is it a trap? But the way that Bellatrix was so
Oscar worthy.
The way that she was so distraught about it makes me think.
Yeah. I definitely believed Bellatrix that she was worried about whatever it was. So it would be very intense acting if that was all a setup. But
it makes sense that there would be a Horcrux. Could it be all the Horcruxes? That would be even
like they're
more
collecting
intense.
them and pulling them in. Well, you know what?
Bellatrix's job was to collect them.
It would make sense if it was Ravenna Ravenclaw's thing. I feel like the Ravenclaw object, we've gotten a lot of hints at it in the last few chapters. That would be a top contender for what's in there at the moment. Because it's one of the ones that we've heard the hints of, but we've only heard it just mentioned now for the first time. I
still don't even remember what they all were. Like, did we ever count out 7 or 6?
Well, yeah, 6 or whatever. We've done it a bunch of times, like randomly, but then we just don't know enough to know. So every time we're like, is that right? Is it not? And we're always speculating about things like the invisibility cloak or whatever.
Right now, let's do a quick inventory over it. So the diary, we're convinced that the diary is a Horcrux. Danny, are we convinced that it's a Horcrux?
I got my list. Let me pull it
So
up.
the diary is for sure. We'll say the diary is 1.
The ring.
The ring is 1.
The locket.
The locket's 1.
That's 3.
We have 3 so far.
Out of 6?
Diary, ring,
6 or 7.
locket. And then our other options were Cups of Hufflepuff, Sword of Gryffindor, Invisibility Cloak, Ravenclaw item, ? Weasley tiara,
what would the
Harry's
Ravenclaw
scar, Sorting hat, Nagini. The Ravenclaw object now would be her headdress thing. I forget what they called it. I underlined it, but it's the thing that we didn't even know what Xenophilius was making. We thought it was like some zany invention, but now it seems like Luna is saying he's trying to model this after Ravenna Ravenclaw's, like, what'd she call it? Which is even more intense. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I didn't think she called it a headdress. It was something else.
Trying to find it.
I don't know. That'd be awesome if Bellatrix.
It was a
had
casual thing.
All
She
the
just said it when she came
Horcruxes in
walking
one
in.
area, and then they all just are like boom, 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 and then we're done.
So the book ends next chapter.
I'm fine with that. I like that ending.
The Diadem of Ravenclaw. The Lost Diadem. So that actually tells us even more than we thought. It's lost.
Yeah, headdress. What's
Well, maybe it's not as lost as we think.
What is it?
I don't know.
What's a diadem?
Yes.
It's like a tiara.
Oh.
It's like a crown.
What if it is the tiara?
That's why you don't want to say it.
That's funny.
Is the Annie Muriel's tiara?
That would be
Danny's
weird.
always right
No,
with
no.
these weird theories.
No, because
probably.
It's so funny.
that feels a little too weird.
There
but
is a line in the movies where someone goes, "What the bloody hell is a diadem?"
that's funny.
Is that why you laugh?
That is
That's
great.
why I'm laughing.
We just don't know.
Don't
laugh at our ignorance.
You just looked at him.
That's
his
so funny.
face.
Interesting. Okay, but it could be the tiara, and I keep thinking back to that silly thing Harry marked his. He knew which closet or a little wardrobe he was hiding something in the room of requirement.
Yeah.
But I forget if that was a bust or a tiara or both. But it was something that felt like special.
I think it was a tiara because you said it like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Tiara. Okay, so we've got a
Yeah.
couple tiaras. It could be that one. In fact, maybe it was that one, and then they found it in the room of requirement because they went in there, and then they realized what it was and hid it in Bellatrix's vault. Or maybe the Bellatrix or the Lestrange family has had it for generations. Or the Malfoys. Not the Malfoys. Where's the Bellatrix?
Peak,
what is her?
the P, something with a P?
Something with a P.
Or it came down. Like,
I just can't remember their last name. Bellatrix and...
Lestrange?
No, that's what it is now. But before she
no,
got married, do we
but
know
what
what
about
her last
I
name was?
thought you were trying to trace
Oh,
the
it would be
family
Black.
that died.
It'd be Black, yeah.
They're blacks, yeah.
So the point is, in all of these things, wait, that's interesting too. If it's her family vault, no, it's a Lestrange vault. It's just weird because it could be a lot of
Wait,
different
what
things.
about the one that died and that has the Deathly Hallows sign on the gravestone? What family is that? Is that with a P?
That is with a P, yeah.
That's
Peveril.
what-
Oh, I was gonna say
Peverils.
that. Wow. One
So the
random piece
Peveril
of information
family-
stuck.
But they
Yeah.
were good or evil?
Well, I don't know if they're good or evil. It seems like a bit of a mixed bag based on the fairy tale.
But that is not the same. Oh wait, okay, those are the
That's the Deathly Hallow family.
yeah. But then it said to Voldemort's grandfather. Was that the line it was going down?
They were, yeah. I think so, yeah.
So that is the Peveril.
The Peverils.
Peveril.
But it's also the family Gaunt. So I think that's the trouble with generations as we look on Ancestry.com. It's once you go a certain number of generations down, you have hundreds and hundreds of grandkids. So it's
the
like
overlap of like real life. And then
yeah. Well, that's how my mind works. So it's like once you go 10 generations back, everybody, like the amount of crossing there is between different families. And so if there are 27 or 29, whatever it was, wizarding families, they're all intertwined 1,000 which ways, because when you can trace a line that far back, it becomes chaos. So everyone's a descendant of somebody, like, especially these pure blood mania people. If you're only able to marry between 27 families, you're sharing great grandparents with everybody, basically, or at least great grandparents. There'd be so much crossover. And that's why I'm just like not sure if any of this stuff with the blood really like matters. You're family with everybody in a weird way, but Harry probably is too, because I think the Potters were one of those families. So
Yeah, but then his mom's a muggle boy.
yeah, which is great.
Break that up.
So I don't know. I just go back and forth about it all. Harry could not remember ever before choosing not to act. Love that. Harry's growing.
Oh, I loved how he was closing his mind to Voldemort. Is that what you were referencing?
Yeah, finally.
Like he could finally turn it off.
It's like when he has moments of just resolve and he knows what he needs to do, he can turn it off. But
I feel
it's
like
funny
he learned
too.
that when he was in trouble.
Yeah.
What was it?
Trelawney?
No, when he was in trouble, I was trying to say like he had to like turn it off so he could focus
Yeah.
on saving someone, but
Yep.
I can't remember.
I think it was this wasn't it Malfoy Manor where he's like having visions into his
Hermione,
mind,
right?
but he had to shut it off because he had to stay focused in the moment. So in huge moments of stress,
like
even in this moment,
practicing.
he's like, this is a little less moment of stress for him, but it's like a moment of resolve. But it's funny because he goes out and talks to Hermione and Ron, and he's like, I know that I need to like look into his mind to confirm the theories are right.
Yeah,
so he's like
right.
choosing when he wants to go into the mind and not now,
Good
rather than
control.
just like completely shutting it out. So he does have control.
Is there any connect to him finally trusting Dumbledore? Because I feel like I can't remember exactly what it was, but that like him choosing, kind of like what you were saying, he's like resolved on what he has to do. Him choosing between the Hallows and the Horcruxes. To me, him choosing the Horcruxes was finally trusting Dumbledore because he was like, this is what he told me to do.
Yeah.
I felt like there was a leap in the direction of like, I'm going to trust him now. So this is what I'm going to do.
That's a great point.
I don't know, like,
Yeah, you're
if
right.
there
Yeah, 'cause
was
he was
a
torn.
connect, like a piece in that trust. So then in that, he was able to turn it on and off in his mind.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
cool.
interesting. Yeah, the
Yeah. I
piece
don't
in it.
know.
I like the piece. Yeah.
I could be wrong.
No, I love
connected
that
those
idea.
two things as I was reading it. I
Well,
thought
that's
it was
also
cool.
what Dumbledore wanted him to do, right? Is to turn
Yes.
it off.
Oh, yeah.
So like
Yeah.
in a way it connects like you're saying too, where he was like trusting him and then okay, I'm going to obey you too.
Right.
Right. It's not a rebellion anymore against what Dumbledore said. It's saying, I'm going to trust you. And there's a piece in there and even like a certain love too. So I think all of that together is good. It's the maturity of Harry, seeing his growth.
And I
He's
wonder if
starting to
all of this
lead.
has to do with Dumbledore not spelling it out for him. Did Harry have to figure this all out on his own?
Yeah.
Because would it
It
have been a
feels
totally,
like it.
Well, would it have been a totally different
whole book, yeah.
path if he
Right,
was just
right.
like if it was spelled out for him?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm paralleling this on
No,
a
you're
total
right.
spiritual level in my own life. So I'm like,
Yeah.
this is, like that's you place a trust in something, and then you have to take the steps and you have to figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
You're
Which-
not
yeah.
being. It's not being spelled out
handheld,
for
yeah.
you. If it were the other case, you'd just be a puppet in life.
And I feel like that even goes back to Harry digging the grave by hand because there's value in doing it the hard way
Yeah.
instead of taking
Who
an
wants
easy
to do it
route.
the hard way? I don't want
You don't.
Tell me.
Nobody wants
Tell me what
to.
to do.
Nobody wants
Just
to,
like
but it
give
is
me
good.
the information so I can do it.
Be a list of what to
Never.
do.
I know.
So we can
exactly.
close
Right.
the book.
Yeah, I will spark notes it.
Literally and figuratively.
I've always spark notes.
Well, me too.
That's
when
how
was
I
in school.
survived
If somebody
school.
tells me to read a book,
Yeah.
that's what I did.
I think I read like
Ironically.
2 books. Fully.
Nice.
Plus
And now
Twilight
7.
series.
You've read
And
through
now
Yes.
this,
6 books
if
fully,
you
almost
count it.
7.
It's no joke.
That's it.
It's better than nothing. That's big.
What else do you have in this chapter before I ask a few more? Not a ton, but a few.
I'll just scan through.
Not a ton, but a few.
Yeah, not
nice.
that much. Just like happy questions. What do you think about Lupin and Tonks having a baby?
Oh, cute.
Very cute.
Yeah,
I love that he was so
I-
excited.
awesome.
Yeah,
I
it's like
know.
Finally came around.
I know.
it still felt weird that Harry said something about that 12 Grimald moment felt like ages ago.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I don't remember that.
Well, he was basically saying they fought in 12 Grimald, remember, in the
Yeah.
basement? And that feels still weird. I would like a little more resolution, like talk it out. And just like, there was still that part of me that thought, was that actually Lupin? Was there something else going on there? Or was it just weird emotion? Either way, I'm glad it's in the past.
What if Harry goes up to him and says, "What? I'm so sorry about the thing we had at Grimwald Place. And Lupin's like, what?
What thing? I haven't been there in years.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna quiz him about what he first saw as his patron or whatever. Remember the thing he quizzed him on the first time?
Yeah.
In the class.
The Grindelwald? What was in the corner of my office the first time we?
Oh,
yeah. So I thought, I'm like, wait, why are you letting him
give him a quiz?
Ask him one more question.
You're giving him the tiara and everything. Yeah, ask him more questions. Questions that a Death Eater with Polyjuice couldn't have prepped for. You know, bring out that remember all. Let's be a little more cautious.
I thought
couple
those were
words and they let him right in.
Stuff.
And that I think was a little strange too because they're taking precautions, but just like a little bit. But he did mention the Secret Keeper. But then again,
I feel like he would know that.
What did he say?
I'll just
Who was
list
the
all the
Secret Keeper?
Weasley kids.
I know. So we trusted a little bit, but it did feel a little funny, like it was different than what it used to be. And it didn't occur to me now that it's scary. They just handed the tiara over because I'm like, what else did they gain? They gained the tiara, and if that was a Horcrux, then we're bad. Anyways, we're gonna pretend that's the real Lupin because I like that he's happy for his child and
Happy for
whatever.
once.
Yes.
And you know what? He stayed and hung out, and like we had said before,
And got drunk.
Yeah.
they would have noticed in long exposure with someone if something was up because they know him well enough.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was interesting. They kept giving him drinks. I'm like, guys, he has to go back to his house and like be on alert on his way
Operate under
back.
the influence.
I know.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I just thought that was dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's operating under the influence. Next chapter,
that
he dies
illegal?
from DUI, drives under the influence, operates under the influence. Oh, man.
That sword was Ragnuk the First's, taken from him by Godric Gryffindor. That's interesting that Griphook says that. Again, he could be lying, could be scheming, could be whatever. But if that's true that it was taken from him and not purchased from him, or maybe that's just Griphook saying it that way, and this would be thousands of years old. So, or you know whatever we said, about 1,000 years old. So Ragnuk the First made the sword or had it made, and Godric took it from him. A lost treasure, a masterpiece of goblin work. It makes it feel like the sword is more special than we even realized. So then it feels like even more so should go back to the goblins if it was taken. And that'd be a nice way to kind of restore some peace because these goblin rebellions seem to have been going on forever.
Yeah. So it is a really interesting question. Did that goblin make it for Gryffindor, or did he just take it? Like, it's a really interesting question for that, because in this chapter you kind of trust Griphook with a little bit, but like he doesn't seem like a trustworthy character.
I know. There's just that little bit of like we're talking about trusting instincts.
Yeah.
And there's just that feeling of, I don't love this. Like something is off here. And I just don't know. All right, Hogwarts was established in 992 AD. Wow, beating out Beauxbatons by 300 years. Yeah, Hogwarts is so much better.
When was Oxford founded?
Ooh, that's interesting. That must be really old.
1096.
Oh my
I think
word!
it's like the second oldest. I think University of Paris is the oldest. I think this is the second oldest or something.
That is so long ago.
So almost close to Hogwarts. Hogwarts is a little bit before.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything else like
So again, they are plotting here. Are they just dumb to put their trust in Griphook?
I don't know if they have a lot of other choices, but I do feel like this opened up bigger things that Harry can do now for the future of the wizarding world. And even it sounds weird even to say the wizarding world anymore because that's creaturist anyway. Like there's got to be another word for just the world, you know, because now it's not just wizarding world, it's wizarding, goblin, elves, you know, all the things. So I feel like this is a good thing Harry can do to kind of take these steps, and for Griphook to trust him is good. And I feel like in order to build trust, somebody has to take that first scary step of trusting in order to let the other person trust. And Harry's doing that now, but it is a risk. He's opening up the possibility of being taken advantage of. So I'm a little worried for him. And I, like Jen said, I do not like that he's planning on being dishonest. He is intending to deceive in his wording, and I don't like that.
So before we wrap up the final questions, I just do you have anything else in this chapter before I ask one more question before the finals?
You're scaring me.
No, this is just what are your predictions for the next chapter? Because we're gonna listen to it.
I don't know. Every time they do something goes wrong. So I'm expecting that. And who's going to go? I feel like it's just going to be one person. It's going to be Harry and Grip Hook because they only have Polyjuice Potion for one. And are you going to... Can they do goblin hair and become a goblin as Polyjuice?
Interesting. Probably. Hermione became a cat.
That is interesting.
Because that would have been... very interesting.
Oh, can you imagine they all be... Well, how much Polyjuice do they have left?
One person.
One person? Okay.
So who are they going to transform into?
What if Grip Hook gave them and there's 2 Grip Hooks? Would that be weird? Or would they know? Or it come from afar? It just looked like 2 goblins working together.
And I feel like... Well, we haven't seen goblins operate, actually. Just elves. But I feel like with that combination of things, they could do quite a few things. But Harry is too high profile to be going out anywhere. So I feel like he'd have to be the one to do it. And it feels like using it to get into Gringotts would be good.
Who are they going to transform into? Who are they going to use it for?
It has to be someone that isn't on the run.
Oh my gosh. What if they had Bellatrix's hair somehow with the wand? And then it's Grip Hook and Bellatrix walking into her own vault. That would have been so perfect. Why didn't they grab her hair?
Yeah, they weren't thinking about that. But do they have anything that...
Hermione might have skin, whatever.
Something
under her fingernails.
Scratch. It could be on her dagger.
Blood.
Ooh, but that's Dobby's blood.
Yeah.
No.
Is there another? That's a great idea. I do like that a lot.
That would have been so easy. In and out. Boom.
Well.
Yeah.
Maybe they have it and Hermione will find it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how they could get it because that's such a great idea. And it's too risky to go getting her hair at this point. You don't want to get that close to her. She's too good.
Go back
so it's
quick.
like you
Let's
kind
go back to Malfoy Manor. Yeah, sorry, we need one of these. All right, we're good.
That quick.
A little punch for killing Dobby.
Yeah.
That's for hurting Dobby.
Yeah.
Here, pluck a hair.
She doesn't have her wand though, so that is something.
I know. Yeah. Very susceptible.
Oh my gosh, and you would have the wand too, and you'd look so
I know, it'd be convincing.
I like that Luna was talking about the Crumplehorn Snorkack, and she said that it likes, you have to hum. They prefer a waltz.
Yeah.
And I think, again, I'm waiting for what Dumbledore said at the beginning of book 1. Music is something more powerful than anything we do here, more important, more something. And so, again, this is a musical thing where I'm like, all right, there's more music. Again, we know Fluffy was impacted by music, and now another magical creature.
Voldemort,
so
you just have to
hum him to sleep. Yep.
Wow.
So anyways, that was another note here. And I also thought it was cute, the Ollivander Luna thing. When he said, "You were an inexpressible comfort to me in that terrible place," I was like, "Oh,
that was a cute moment they shared." Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I don't remember that. I want to make that my favorite moment.
Yeah.
Just hold on to that. You can make that your favorite moment, even though you didn't remember it.
Cozy moments, diadem.
I can read it right now.
Yeah.
Ginny sends you all her love. I took that to mean not all of you her love, but Harry sends you all of her love. Baby Ted. Yummy.
Yummy.
Yeah, yummy.
About the baby?
Well, sure. Yeah.
He loves babies.
It's just an interesting.
I was trying to count the people at the table when they were cheersing, but they stood up. They didn't sit down. I think we're all right. They didn't dine together.
Oh my
gosh. We had discussed a little bit.
Wait, were there 13 at the table though?
I don't think so. I just did quick math, and I was like, it wasn't even close. Yeah. I didn't even count them out because I'm like, it must be 8 people. Yeah, and I was like, all right, we're fine.
Yeah.
So being a godfather is that extra responsibility. Is there a wizarding, muggle, ancient magic kind of thing about being a godfather? It felt like Harry agreed to it without knowing what that even meant. And I was
At
like,
the end of
whoa,
the chapter,
hey, like,
he's like, am I going to be more reckless?
like in the end, you know, you're going to also have to be a godfather to like Ron and Hermione's kids if things go that way, which of course we're all hoping. Then, so I'm like, but don't you be giving out your godfatherhood to like any old person. No offense to Tonks and Lupin. I know they're tight, but I think he's only spent a total of like a few minutes with Tonks. And so I don't know. It just felt like a little casual where I was like, maybe try and take a second. All right. I think
You are something.
the bargain involves treasure, tiara, sword. Bill is smart. They should have given the tiara more secretly since Bill knew how goblins get with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They should have been discreet. He should have been on the lookout for that kind of stuff, knowing the tiara is in the house and Griphook's weird. That should have been on his radar a little more, I thought. And I thought it was interesting that it ended with Harry being as reckless a godfather to Teddy Lupin as Sirius Black had been to him. Full circle.
I missed that.
Yep. But he's younger, so we give Harry more grace.
Well, Sirius Black was in jail, Azkaban forever. So
oh my
that's
goodness,
kinda
I
the
know. That definitely is intense.
All right, favorites. Favorite moment, favorite character, hot tamale. I'll give my favorite character to Harry. You can definitely give my favorite character to Harry in this chapter. These two. Because he's just convicted. He becomes he's like a man in this, especially in the Wand Maker chapter. He just knows what he needs to do.
Ooh, yeah.
He's in control of the situation. He's such a man. I love it.
There's conviction there.
Yeah.
And balance. He's willing to like suppress some of his like immature feelings and say, no, I'm going to do what's right. It's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is so good.
I agree with you. So I'll just jump on that. Yeah.
Probably the same.
Yeah.
Ditto.
I was trying to look for something.
Ditto hasn't come up in a while.
Luna could be hot tamale.
I wanted to give her something. That's what I was just
I
trying
know.
to look at.
Yeah.
That's why I said hot tamale.
I love she is just an absolute delight. Like even something as simple as like Harry looks outside and she is there fixing the flowers on the grave of Dobby. I'm like, even something as simple as that.
Yeah.
She just knows what's right, knows what's proper, and just does it. Like she is just lovely.
I think that's why I admire her, because she doesn't care what people think at all.
Yep.
She just does what she feels is right.
Yep.
Or what, not feels, like she does do the right things. It's not just that it feels right. I'm not sure how to word that, but.
Even if she's wrong.
She knows what's right in her convictions of what life is.
She's
I don't know if
convicted.
that sentence just made any sense.
Yeah.
And then
No, it did make sense.
Wasn't she talking about something like she was teaching Dean something like on the way in?
Crumpled horn snorkack.
Yeah, or
She's
something.
convinced it's a crumpled horn snorkack.
It was just
and
so
not a
cute.
horn.
I don't know.
And she said it regrows, which I thought was also interesting.
It reforms.
And it's a funny dynamic between Luna and Hermione, because Hermione's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I actually don't know who to believe. I'm like, oh man, what was it? It did explode. But, I mean, what do we know?
Just to be more open-minded or something, isn't that what?
Yeah.
Her
Xenophilia said, yeah.
Wow, Mr. Lovegood said to Hermione, "Oh, great, you're thinking like you're more open-minded."
Yeah.
Finally.
We'll have to check every rock in the world. Yeah. That's more like it.
Yeah, something like that.
However he said it was so great.
Favorite moment.
I said mine.
Yeah. It was a good moment.
I just thought like the chapter where Harry was like questioning Ollivander, and like he just showed so much wisdom and like power in that moment where he's like, how do you know all this stuff? And he wouldn't reveal anything.
Yeah.
But I thought it was so cool how he was like tracing the whole history of this conversation with Voldemort and getting what he needed. I don't know. It kind of reminded me of like a Dumbledore. Like everyone just like, wait, how do you have all this information?
Whoa, cool. Yeah, you're right.
It's so good.
Like Dumbledore, like that, like feeling of he's in the know.
He's in awe, yeah.
Blowing people's minds.
Hermione almost like looks scared of him at this moment because she's like so in awe of him.
Well, yeah, because he didn't tell anyone anything. Because I thought that was interesting, like the maturity level where he was tapping in a little bit to see what Voldemort was doing and then closing it off. So he was kind of keeping track of him, but not letting it interrupt the moments that he was in to, I don't know.
I love that.
Yep.
Okay, that was mine.
There's good moments in these
That was
chapters.
good.
Yeah, I think the conversations with Griphook and Ollivander specifically, that was like, I was loving it. Like holding the book so tight. This is amazing. But I think my favorite moment might be more like what Kristen, like what you would kind of say, the cozy moments, the moments with Luna and Ollivander and saying goodbye, the crackling fire, the meals with friends. Like it was just very warm and friendly and safe. And I thought that was good. And we even got to end the chapter still feeling good. What a rarity.
I know.
There was a moment where I like paused and like,
wow.
I feel too good right now. What's about to happen?
Yeah.
It's true.
So yeah, I did feel like that was good. But Ollivander, all of this, these were good chapters. I don't mind these calms before the storm.
I love I think my favorite is maybe sad, but I love the gratification that Harry feels when he's burying Dobby. Like using his own sweat and dirt. I'm like, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like giving him a meaningful goodbye. I think that's great. Sad. Hot tamale?
I said Luna.
Luna, yeah.
I'm going Lupin.
Yeah,
Ooh,
respect.
that was good. What about
That's a good
Teddy?
Little baby hot tamale.
Little baby tamale. Aw.
A mini
With his
tamale.
flaming hair.
Yeah.
So it does feel like the baby's gonna have Tonks things, right?
Yeah.
Like a Metamorphomagus. I think that's
and
cool.
then looks part werewolf. Like they're like, he
Yeah,
looks
like, will it be a werewolf
Lupin. I'm
too?
like,
Huh.
when? What form?
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. All right. Well, we are going to listen right now, but I'm going to end this stream and then we'll start the other one later. But thanks for joining us on our journey of Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. Hey everyone, you are getting boring old me after this podcast. Sorry about that. I just wanted to note that if you go on our YouTube channel, we live read pretty much every single chapter in Deathly Hallows. So if you want to re-experience that for the first time and see Jen and Danny's reaction, go subscribe to us on YouTube because all of them are there. They're pretty orderly, they're pretty organized. So go check them out on YouTube. First Time Readers.